So today we're going to start our a series on karma. Um, I find it quite an exciting series and really starts to bring the teachings together. At least that's how I see it. Because we looked at guru devotion, we looked at lower realms, um, we looked at suffering, and then when karma starts is this law of cause and effect, so it starts to bring in this reasoning aspect and how this whole um, science of mind starts to come together, and it starts to becoming, oh, wow, okay, now I I can influence this microcosm. So it's going to be that should be a bit exciting trying to look at this and how our mind is interacting with this law. So yeah, we start by just bringing ourselves into the session and preparing our body and our mind for the session. And that preparation helps our motivation. So we want to make sure that we're physically present, we're mentally present, and sometimes we run into the session and all of our thoughts are just racing. Um, and I kind of like to drop the thoughts, but it can be difficult. But you can imagine, like, you just went to the grocery store and you're carrying those heavy bags into the house, and you walk right in the door and you just drop them right on the floor. Boom. So we'll just drop those thoughts right here. And having released those thoughts, we can bring our attention to our breath. When we just watch our breath, and as we inhale and exhale, and we can feel like we're breathing with our entire body, not just our nose and our lungs, but when we breathe in that air, that oxygen, that's purifying. You can feel it kind of permeating to all the cells, all the way down to our toes. It's just permeating our entire body, cleansing the whole body. And then we recall our motivation, or we set our motivation. And as we start this uh, subject of karma, maybe we can set our motivation that we become more attentive to our actions. that we become aware of our actions through meditation, through this practice. And why do we want to become aware of those actions? So that we can recognize if they're good or bad, so that we don't harm other people. We don't create negative karma. So may we become aware of what are we doing every day, every moment. And through this awareness that we don't harm, that's our motivation. Living a harm-free life. So we start to look at this topic of karma, and when just lay the groundwork today. Just try to ease into it, because we've meditated on the sufferings, right? We we understand um, the sufferings that we experience as an animal, as a preta, as a hell being. So then we can ask ourselves the question whether we really wish to take that rebirth in those suffering realms. And if not, we can consider that our situation right now is just like uh, someone that's been arrested, like a thief, a robber, and they're told that they will be tortured with red hot irons the next day. Because this is solely the result of mm, using our three doors of action incorrectly. So we have to examine what these three doors are. We have to watch them. So the three doors are our mind, or our thoughts, our speech, and the actions of the body. And all three of them, if they're directed by wrong motivations, we get negative karmic result, negative karmic imprint. So maybe we look at an easy example. So if we eat too much food, in particular food that we really enjoy, and then we eat too much and it just makes us sick. We feel bad. So we learn, we can avoid eating too much of the food. So the next time it comes around, we don't uh, eat this, because we're aware. We have the knowledge to know that if I eat too much of it, it will make me sick. So it's in this exact same way that we need to mm, be watchful of our actions so that we can avoid unfortunate rebirth. So we have to observe the mind. We have to observe our state of mind because it's this state of mind that's going to determine whether actions, another word for actions is karma, um, whether these actions, whether they're positive or negative. So if we can give a positive direction to the mind, then the actions of the body and the speech will follow. So if we can discover our mind is in um, a positive state, then we can rejoice. We can rejoice as if we found this precious jewel, and then we can make this resolution to keep it that way for as much or as long as we can. And then if at one point we fall back into this mistaken conduct by not having a positive mind, a positive motivation, then we want regret to arise, recognizing that we made a mistake. And then this regret, it helps put our mind back in the right direction, in the positive direction, positive motivation. And of course, we want to try to purify any of these mistaken actions so they don't leave any negative imprints. So this just means that we need to try to develop the right actions of the body, speech, and mind, and to diminish the wrong ones. And so this is where our understanding of the Lamrim thus far, tied together with this law of karma, law of cause and effect, and then tying this into awareness and motivation, it puts the it puts the power in our hands. It is our responsibility individually to be aware, to have positive motivation, to engage in positive actions. So we can take another example of of a worldly activity like business. So if we're doing some business and we make a mistake, then we start to worry about the problems it's going to cause, that we're going to run out of money. But if we fall into this mistaken action while we're practicing Dharma, then we're less likely to feel like that. In fact, there's situations that are very similar, but in the former case, when we're making mistakes and we're not practicing Dharma, we can see these as um, results that are a mistake in this life, right? While in the latter situation, when we're making mistakes, but we're practicing Dharma, uh, then it's not the same. It's not as deep or profound or imminent because we have this view of multiple lives of purification, etc. So it's important that hmm, we train in mindfulness, awareness, watchfulness, all of these over our motivation, because this is the mind, and the mind is the lead. So it's good to develop mindfulness and be aware of the beautiful flowers that are starting to bloom in the spring. But the mindfulness that we really want to develop is the mindfulness of our mind and our motivation. And it's so important because this practice of religion is not like a worldly task, right? Um, you can't ask someone to help. We're uh, born alone and we die alone. So we're alone and we're responsible for our own actions. And we're responsible for the results of those actions. So we can see that, right? All the suffering that we experience in this life and in the future lives, this is a direct result of our own mistaken actions. So by um, guarding our motivation with mindfulness and awareness, or stopping the mistaken actions, then we can avoid this suffering in the future. And if we keep our mind properly oriented, then the worst that anyone can do to us is to kill us. But even if there's like this gigantic army and they kill us, they can't force us to have an unfortunate rebirth. No one can force that upon us. That lies with our own motivations. But if, on the other hand, if we fail to keep our positive mind in this positive direction and constantly engage in unwholesome actions, well, then, yes, we're accumulating the causes for rebirth in a suffering realm. So therefore, we need to check on our motivation and be kind to ourselves, rejoice when it's good, and feel regret when it's not, and purify when it's bad. And then sometimes it can happen that um, we become depressed when we think we're close to death. And we've accumulated so many negative actions. And we're convinced that these negative actions will result in an unfortunate rebirth. So we have this depression thought. But um, there's no point to have this depressed thought. Why? Because we're completely free. We are free to practice Dharma. We are free to eliminate these negative imprints, these negative actions. We don't have to pay anyone for this. We can change it. We can raise our awareness, change our motivation, purify our past actions, and vow to not do them again. So there's nothing to be depressed about. Regret, maybe, but depression not. So it's a fascinating law of cause and effect and how it ties into all the Lam teachings. So I think for the next week, it'd be good to put it into practice, right? To to start becoming aware of our motivation. So what is our motivation when we wake up in the morning? Is it positive or negative? As we're putting our shoes on, as we're walking out the door, as we're paying the cashier, as we're um, helping at the Dharma Center, as we're brushing our teeth, going to bed, sleeping, dreaming, where, I mean, uh, we're engaged with countless number of activities of action every day. So starting to become aware of our actions, becoming aware of our motivation. And as we just discussed, the actions of the speech, so those kind words we say or harmful words we say, and the actions of our body, they follow our mind. So becoming aware of our motivations, our intentions, and turning them to a positive uh, state of mind, then we've completely protected our future karma. So we can dedicate all of these contemplations that we've just made, and we can dedicate them for the sake of all sentient beings, that may they not suffer, and may their not suffering be a result of my positive state of mind, that I do not cause them harm forever and ever. And we dedicate to the health and the long life of all of our teachers that present this Dharma to us. Because without them, I don't think we'd be practicing right now. So it's their kindness, their existence, and the proliferation of the Dharma that allow all of this to happen. Thank you.